Howdy my peeps and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about my art related interests, which was suggested by MK aka Morgan. Thank you so much for your suggestion. I really appreciate it. But before we get into the topic of today's video, I would like to give a shout out to Dizzy, who is the comment of the week. Thank you so much for your comment. I really like reading all those comments, and if you would like to be the comment of the week, all you have to do is comment on any video. That could have been you. Oh my goodness. I'm also on Patreon and have an Etsy shop, so if you like to support me in my work, you can head over there. But anyways, you didn't come here for all that. Oh my goodness. Also, I would like to make a little discussion out of this, so if you would like to share some of your art related interests in the comments, you most certainly can. But anyways, I haven't written anything down. This is just kind of the things that come to mind as I'm sitting here in front of this here mic. But the very first thing that I can think about is writing. Oh my goodness. I used to write a lot when I was younger. Wow. I actually stopped writing for about a year or so, and I've only recently gotten back into it. Which at first when I think about it, it's like, oh, it's kind of sad, but at the same time, I feel like that just is something that happens sometimes. Sometimes you just, how do you say that? Lose interest in things, except I never did lose interest in it. It's just like kind of, well, I had writer's block is what it was. I just, whenever I would sit down to write something, I just kept getting stuck. So I just put it away for a while. And for a while, I mean a little over a year. But I recently started writing again, which is very nice. And I'm actually writing little fan fiction bits about this character here, who is my OC Kamir. And I'm not going to share them or anything. It's just, I'm mainly doing it just so I can get back into writing before I kind of move on to the thing that is like my, how do you say that? My main writing project, I guess you would say. Because for a while I was writing something about my other OC, Lentz, and that's the story I kept getting stuck on, so I've kind of put that on the back burner for a little bit, and I'm just writing just random things to kind of get back into it, and it's very fun, and I really like doing it, and yeah, that's one of my interests. Oh my goodness. And of course, one of my main interests is drawing. Wow, I love to do it. Been doing it for years now, and it's so amazing. But I think that one's more obvious than the other one. In the art department, I love to sketch. I just don't get me started. Oh my goodness. I just like sketchbooks and sketching, and I don't even have fancy sketchbooks. I don't even think I've ever gotten a fancy sketchbook. Ever? Wow, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever done that. But anyways, I just get like a cheap sketchbook from Michael's. It's like the Artist Loft one, and I just like to fill those up. I like the hard cover sketchbooks because I just think it kind of feels nicer to have like a book, like a hardcover book that I could flip through and like have drawings on both sides of the page. I just really like that look, and you know, I just find sketching to be very I was gonna say relaxing, but I don't think that's the right word. I just like to do it, you know. And I was just like thinking about it the other day, you know, as you do, and I noticed that I just prefer my sketches over my finished drawings sometimes, of my OCs in particular. I feel like my sketches of my OCs are a lot, like I prefer them over my finished drawings. I feel like my sketches are a lot more expressive and more expressive and looser than my finished stuff. So I think that's why I like them more. But I think I also like them more because I don't really pressure myself to make my sketches look nice. I kind of just do whatever, and a lot of the times I'm not even thinking too much about what I'm doing. I'm just kind of on autopilot. I'll just maybe put on a YouTube video or something, and just sketch. Or I don't really watch movies, but sometimes I'll like put something on, maybe listen to some music, and just sketch random things. And those random things usually include my OCs, which brings me to my other interests. Oh my goodness, which is related to that and also the first one I mentioned. I love my OCs, and I love them a lot. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little tired right now, so anyways, I came up with my two main OCs, Lent and Kamir, years ago. Oh my goodness, like I want to say like 2014 or 15. I came up with Lent first, and then Kamir later. And originally they were actually siblings, which is, like, if you would look at the two of them, like, you would not gather that at all. For starters, Kamir isn't even human, and Lent is. Also, what had happened was, okay, so like I mentioned, I'm writing, like, little fan fiction-y things, and so that's how both characters started. But at a certain point, I was like, I really like this character Lent, and I would maybe, perhaps like to share the story at some point. And I just like share it as like a published thing. So it's like, maybe I shouldn't have this thing be fan fiction. It's Star Wars fan fiction, by the way. So I just kind of changed some things up. I can't remember at what point or how exactly. I can't really explain all the decisions I made because I can't even remember making those decisions. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. My default when I'm creating OCs is black. Even for Kamir, even though he's obviously not human. But it's just like, if I were to draw him as a human, he would be black. It's just, that's my default. I'm black. Okay, so that's just how I think. So when I was, kind of making my little fan fiction-y stuff be non-fan fiction, that's just where I gravitated towards, which I think is really neat because, we just need more black stories out there, And actually, this is something my brother, my mother, and I were talking about earlier, about black stories and how a lot of times they're like, what did he call them? I think he called them black hurt movies or something. And like, that's like the default, and it's like movies and shows and stuff about police brutality and just things like that. And it's like, that's not the entirety of the black experience. So, as someone who likes to write and likes to draw and things, I just feel like, me personally, I don't like those types of like media, I guess, is that what you would call it? Those type of like movies and things where it only shows the suffering that's in the black community. Like, I don't really like that. I don't know why it's so hard for me to explain this. I feel like they have a place, those types of movies, but I don't think that should be the only type of movies and books and things that are put out about black people. So okay, I got it. I know what it is. It's when those types of media have a white savior. So it's like, black people can't be heroes in our own story without having a white person be the actual hero of the story. That's what I don't like, because it's kind of implying that, black people can't really save themselves. They really need someone else. And that's what I don't like about those types of stories. And I really hate it when those types of media really like romanticize black suffering, and it's like, why are you doing this? Why are you like this? That's not necessary or appropriate, for that matter. I'd like to create some stories that are not solely about black hurt, even though black hurt is very real. But I just feel like we need a little more the more positive stories out there, you know. I think a prime example of this is Black Panther. Just the response from that, just having a thing that is about black people that isn't about black people suffering. Even though it did have some elements, like with Killmonger, he talked about some things, but it wasn't like the main focus. It wasn't just like, okay, Black Panther's gonna get beat up by the police. It's just, I went on a tangent. That's not what I came here for, but like, I hope you get what I mean. So, where was I going with that? I can't remember. I really can't remember where I was going with that. Anyways, so yeah, my default for when I create OCs is black. So, as I was changing Lentz, so I just like changed him and it was like black, of course. But then I was also writing this other story, which I have also put on the back burner. And then I was like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make these characters in this story be his parents. Okay. And there's like, it was a whole thing, and then like that was the reason why I chose his ethnicity to be black and indigenous. But it's like, I don't want to tell you what that thing is, because it's like, I still kind of want to write that, and I don't want to like spoil it or anything. Oh my goodness. And I haven't worked on that particular thing in a while. It's been a minute. But I draw that OC from that story sometimes. Her name is Kayana, and she was going to be Lentz's mom, but I think I changed that, and his dad is currently unnamed. It do be like that sometimes. I used to have a very... Oh, wait, that's my alarm. Hold up. Okay, what I was saying was, I used to have such an easy time coming up with names for my OCs, but I find that in... just like recently, I struggle a lot with that. In fact, sometimes I will come up with an OC and I'll just remain unnamed. It do be like that sometimes. I don't know. It's just like, it used to be very easy for me to come up with names. I feel like it was because I wasn't putting so much pressure on myself to come up with cool names. I just kind of just came up with something that felt right, and a lot of the times it wasn't even like a quote unquote, that's not a word, a quote unquote real name. It was just like something I made up, so I didn't really put a lot of pressure on myself. So that's also another thing I'm doing with the stuff that I'm writing these days, is just kind of going back to my roots, so to speak, and not putting so much pressure on myself. Because as soon as I was like, okay, I want this thing that I'm writing to be a published work, I want it to be in a novel, I want this to be something people could read one day. As soon as I decided that, that's when I noticed I started kind of getting into a bit of writer's block, and that's when I started constantly rewriting things and rethinking things and thinking too much about things. So the story that I would like to be a written book one day, Lentz's story, it is so different than when it started. Not just because it started as a fan fiction, but also it's just not even the same thing. Even that first, I never finished my first draft. I got up to the end of the fan fiction. Like, I had filled, I think it was like a 70-page pad and then some. And I like got up right up to the end, but I didn't finish that. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to like change some things. And I never finished that second draft, or the third one, or the fourth one, or the fifth one. I honestly I don't know which number I'm on at the moment, but it's so different. And part of me wants to just kind of go back to what it was, but another part of me wants to write it as it currently is in my head, because I do think that version is nice. But anyways, sort of kind of going back to the whole, I forget how my brother said it. Black Hurt Films, I think he said it, but I'm going to say Black Hurt Stories, since it's not a film, it's a written work. So with Lentz's story, I want it to be about him overcoming struggles with his mental health, but I don't want it to be written in such a way that it's like, how to explain this? kind of like I said, romanticizing black struggle. Like, I don't want to do that in my stories, because that ain't cool. We're not doing that in this corner. So that's like the main plot point. Excuse me. Well, in the current version, that's the main plot point. In the older version, the first version, it was similar to that. I'm trying to think. It was similar to that theme, but with a sprinkling of Star Wars, because I love Star Wars. So it was present, it was there, and yeah, I haven't written. No, that was not the right word. I haven't read that in a while, and after this, I kind of want to go back and read it, even though I know that it's a little challenged, not gonna lie. But I kind of just want to see where my mind was and where my thoughts were at that time about that whole story, so I can kind of, I don't know, maybe get some inspiration, or at the very least to see how I've grown as a writer. But anyways, this is how the drawing turned out. I hope you like it. Hope you like this video as well. It's kind of rambly, but it do be like that sometimes. But anyways, shout out to my patrons, Turtle Bun Buns, Ariana, Sister John 55, and Zachary. Thank you so much for being my patrons. I really appreciate you and everything that you do. Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm also on Patreon and Etsy and on these social media platforms. Everything is in the description if you're interested. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please enjoy the rest of your day, my peeps.